Welcome, everyone. Today is hard to believe already, July 21st. Time is flying as we're enjoying this gorgeous weather. This is a very important topic, the parasite conversation we need to have with Dr. Shane. As we all know, you're going to see here in just a little bit, both him and his wife are scheduled for next month, and we're just seriously beyond blessed to have their expertise shared with so many of us. These are limited time offers still available. If you have not tried that Endless Summer Body Mist and Hair, incredible. And the Father's Day beard and hair, I love it. Love to have my hair just shiny as could be. And the bath bar, incredible. And then there's your travel sunscreen as well. So the sunscreen in general is limited. So if you're looking at getting some of that, probably through September, October, if it'll still be available in stock, please do so. And through Friday at midnight Mountain Time, here are the pairings for the BOGOs. And if you purchase the BOGO bundle, you're going to get the frankincense benzoic acid complex for free, which is worth $48, 64 retail. What an amazing option. And I love that on the side when you talk about stillness and after sun trio and sunny side, bringing sunshine into our lives and midday clarity. This is definitely, they've done an awesome job putting this together. So also any skincare, this frankincense stick with Naya wood, guys, a must have. And the reason why we put this in here is until the 31st of July, you can take advantage of still registering for Orlando and use this promo code. Register, it is case sensitive, so all caps, register 20, and anybody you share it with will get $20 off. Not 20%, $20 for the 26th convention. And I was on a couple calls today with corporate, and what is coming is incredible. So definitely get your tickets now. And here's just a little sneak peek. Yes, we're updating our picture because that's just an old one. So when you see it come out, it's going to be our very current. But I did see Angela do this for me, and this is why I had her come as a speaker. When we were in San Antonio, she did her daily energy routine, and she's actually going to be showing us, not just PowerPoints. She's actually going to be demonstrating this for us. It is an amazing daily energy routine on oils. And I did share with Gabriella today, so she will have all of the oils that we should have available if you actually want to do it that same night. And then, so Dale and I are doing a brand new class on the natural home journey, removing toxins. We're going to go through our entire home, and you're going to learn a lot. We're not there to scare you. We're there to help educate. And August 26th, I think I have to go back. Nope, looks like maybe there's some. There's Dr. Courtney, raising healthy kids, and really in a not so healthy world that we are right now with a lot of processed foods and a lot of things. And then the immune, Dr. Shane, back on the 18th. And then Dr. Laura is pelvic floor 101, making it fun. And if you're anywhere within 2-hour driving distance, definitely come and join us. Betty, who for the half of the year or more, she just got a second home here in La Crosse, but is from San Antonio, Texas. She's going to be presenting on 3 hours on the 6th of August. And I'm not seeing the image in here, but August 6th, that's a Thursday, Dr. Shane is going to be here at our home. So watch our Facebook groups and watch Discovery. You're going to see that Dr. Shane is going to be here for an Unplugged. So bring your questions and get those answered by him as well. And this is a Master's Club program, this class is. So if you're going to be joining doTERRA tonight or in the next couple days, please reach out. Whoever invited you tonight, make sure you go to them first. If they're not in Master's Club, I'm more than glad to share my Master's Club code so you can get these free oils as well. And I'm going to just briefly drop in the chat again the image for tonight's class. Right click and share it with folks because we want to get this class out there. Even though we're well on our way over past 100, we have room. I'm going to stop sharing and turn this over to not only an expert, he is a friend of ours. He has been speaking with Discovery Essentials. Would you say, Dr. Shane, 3 or 4 years already now?
Yeah, something like that, maybe even longer, probably 5. I was trying to like do the math. I'm like, how many presentations have I done? It's got to be like 30 or something like
Right?
that. So,
Yes.
but no, happy to be here. I know what did I see? Yeah, we have 114 people on. So I just want to thank you guys for taking time out of your night to come on here, join us, learn something new. So I see a lot of familiar faces. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Shane. I've been working with Sandy for, again, I think 5 or 6 years, going to some of her vendor shows and things like that, presenting for you guys. So I'm excited to be here. And I think now more than ever, this is a huge topic, especially with what's going on in the news right now and everything else. So we're going to talk about parasites tonight. And this is always a big topic. And I have people come to me all the time asking about them. Do I have it? And like you said, even earlier, Sandy, it's really come down to the point where we're kind of talking, well, like basically if you walk, talk, and breathe, you're probably exposed to these parasites at some point in time. And I I definitely think that's true, but we'll dive into a little bit deeper about what makes a difference between some people not really having symptoms and things like that, and what people do have symptoms, and what does that look like. And the big thing is I want to help give you some tools, some tricks, and some of those different things to how do I support my body? Okay, if I do have something like this, how are we going to start to take care of it? And how do we start to be preventative even in that nature? Because again, it's kind of inevitable, but what can we do with that, especially again with everything kind of going on in the news today? So first thing we need to understand is what really is a parasite. Okay, so a parasite is an organism that lives in or on another organism or an organism of another species, which is considered its host, and then benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Okay, so basically for us, right? It's some sort of organism that gets in or on us and basically thrives off of us, and we don't really have any benefit from that other organism as well. And this can come in a lot of different shapes, sizes, and different things like that. I know when I say the word parasite, everybody kind of cringes and thinks of a big old tapeworm. That is rare. Okay. I thought I had one in my office at one point in time, ended up not being a tapeworm. I was a little disappointed, but right, but that's what we kind of think of. We think of these little worms and things like that, but realistically, like think of a mosquito. A mosquito's technically a parasite, right? So sucks our blood, takes blood, nutrients, things like that, and then flies away. And there's really no benefit to us besides we get a nice little itchy bump for a while, right? So there's a lot of things that can start to play into this and what they start to look like. And some of these things can start to carry additional diseases and other things like that. So not only are they stealing nutrients, but they're passing some things on to us that are not well as either, right? One can be a tick, and I do a talk on this every year with Sandy just about ticks and Lyme and all the things that kind of come with it. So again, just something, an organism in or on us that's stealing from us, and we really get no benefit. And there's several classifications of these types of parasites, okay? And when we talk about this, again, there's some of them like the mosquitoes and different things like that, but when we really talk about like internal parasites, we're looking at things like roundworms, okay? And that can come into a different couple categories of things like hookworms and nematodes. There's tapeworms, which is like the stereotypical what we think of, those big long ones. And there's things like flukes, and then there's things like protozoa, okay? Protozoa are going to be the most common. I just think of they're almost like little bacteria. Most of them are so microscopic, you're barely going to see them. They're usually little round kind of different things. And here's just an example, we'll get into it, but this is one of the tests that we run on patients, and you can see right there, they had a present parasite with this test, with it's called blastocystis. And with this one, when we worked with this patient, and they started to pass it. Literally, I was like, Kate, start to just look for like little grains of sand or almost like BBs in your stool. And she's like, yep, that's exactly what. I'm like, well, we're getting rid of them. We're doing what we need to do. So, right. So there's several different types of parasites and classifications, and we can start to look at those. Um, and the type of parasite can also give us clues to where they're located. They can really be located in different places on our body. One of the most common is going to be our digestive tract, because the most common way we're going to be exposed to them is through our food, through our drink, those different things like that. So that is definitely the most common place. But depending, they can start to travel to other places. There are things like liver flukes, which is still part of our digestive tract, but it works its way to our liver, right? And they can get other places. So that can start to give us some clue. But again, this is just an example of I test for these different things. I do see them quite often, but what are they? What classification? And then this also gives us some more information to, okay, what exactly do we need to do to start to get on top of this? So what to look for? Okay, I think, okay, maybe I have a parasite. Again, a lot of us are exposed to them. What do I need to start looking for? And everybody's different, and the types of parasites are also going to look different. But big one, abdominal pain, diarrhea. Again, that's what we're seeing in the news right now. Nobody can leave their house, right, or leave the bathroom. Nausea, vomiting, gas and bloating. You can start to get rashes and itching. You can again have stomach pain, abdominal pain, fatigue and tired. We can start to have appetite changes and weight loss. Okay. Those are some of those, especially when we look at things like rashes and itching. Really anything skin is always something going on internally. Something on the inside is throwing things off and your body's trying to detox and get it out, and then it tends to come out through your skin. Fatigue is coming from your body's trying to fight this war underneath the surface and is struggling. You also have everyday life to go through. You have work and your kids and all these different things. So you're burning up energy with everyday life, but now you're also fighting a war underneath the surface. So again, you're burning extra calories, extra fuel, and things like that. And then if you have something like a tapeworm, I mean, again, they're literally stealing nutrients, right? It's stealing nutrients from you. So now, again, you have all these different things going on, but now even if you're eating the best diet, taking good supplements, it's literally stealing that stuff from you, right? So getting that taken care of. And then this is what I start to ask a lot of patients when we're thinking possibly things about parasites and things like this. This is the big things that starts to stand out between something like a parasite or something like a bacterial infection, candida, other things like that that may be going on in the gut. How do you distinguish those to start to look? One way is the test, right, for those things, and that's what I usually recommend. But the big thing with parasites, and you guys may have you may have heard before how they correlate with like the moon cycles and the different things like that, okay, and how they correlate. So when you look at this, you may have trouble sleeping. You may be restless at night. I have so many patients that say, yep, I'm tired, and I go to lay down at night and I just can't turn off. I'm restless. My body doesn't turn off. My brain doesn't turn off, and I can't get to sleep even though I'm super tired. Um, right? Or grinding your teeth at night. That's a big sign too, that there's an internal stress to your body, and then you start to grind. It's usually a stress thing when you're grinding. You can get changes around the moon cycle, most specifically around the full moon, but I do see people having changes around the new moon. So that's part of my questioning when I'm talking to patients. When I'm talking to patients and we're thinking about this, I'm like, do you follow the moon cycle at all? And some say yes, some say no. But when the ones that do, I'm like, do you notice any changes, or do things get worse around a full moon or around a new moon? Or do some of these symptoms and things get worse at night and then maybe get better during the day and everything like that? So, right, asking these certain questions so that we can start to kind of dig a little deeper and paint that picture. You can get cortisol spikes at night. That plays into the trouble sleeping, the restlessness and things like that. And then again, anxiety at night, right? Parasites and things like that. Again, it's causing so much internal stress. It's causing cortisol to rise. Now our body is in kind of fight or flight, and now we can start to feel anxious. And a lot of times, again, it's like after that dinner and things like that, as your body should be calming down, it's not calming down. And then we're kind of like tired but wired during the day, same thing at night. And now this vicious cycle of, well, you're not getting enough sleep, so you're not healing, repairing, and then the parasites are stealing nutrients from you. And it's just this fun cycle. So again, moon cycles are a huge thing to look at, and again, more present at nighttime. So the main way I look and I test for parasites and when I'm running it with my patient, because again, if we're saying like, yep, I think there may be a parasite, different parasites can affect different areas, and then we're looking at different ways to help support the body through this process. So that's where I think it's really important to test for these and not just make assumptions and all the time and say, we're just going to do a general kind of cleanse, right? Because if you have a liver fluke, maybe you focus on the liver and we're putting some things on topically over the liver. If it's more in the GI, we're putting it over the stomach, lower abdomen, things like that, right? So you can get more specific when you have some of this testing. But a lot of people ask me about GI mapping, which some can show you certain parasites, which these do, but what I feel like a GI map misses is it's looking for parasites, it's looking for some other infections and things like that. It's looking at some of your good microbiome, but the big part that I see missed is it's not looking at the rest of the gut and how do you balance things back out afterwards. I like to use an analogy. A parasite's kind of like a fire, right? Your body's kind of like a house. When you have that fire, you got to put the fire out, but what damage did the fire do, right? If the kitchen's burnt up and your bathrooms are burnt up and all these different things, you still don't have a very good livable house. Now you're susceptible to the next parasite to come in and take over again, or you're susceptible to um, some other sort of infection or something else going on. Parasites can really throw off your body, really throw off your chemical imbalance, really throw off your microbiome. So again, it's a big part that I feel like people miss is the rebuilding process behind that. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I think that's a really important topic to kind of touch on. So when I run something like a stool test, it's a GI map, which a lot of people are hearing. I see a lot of people running. But the thing that a GI map misses is the rest of the information going on in the gut. How well is our body digesting and absorbing some of those nutrients? Again, that can give us more clue. Is there inflammation and immunology markers? What other metabolites might be off? What are some of the other microbial imbalances that things are showing? And how do we get those back in balance? If you don't get this information, you're really just kind of guessing at it, right? So it's important to get all of this information. Again, here's just several examples of seeing these different parasites, right? We showed you that one, many detected, which is blastocyst. Here's a different type of one, right? We're getting into crazy names, Endolimax, Nana, right? So there's moderate of those, plus there is different cysts and things like that detected, which is kind of like egg forms of those, or some of them can go almost kind of like in a dormant cystic form. So there's active ones and dormant ones. Then we can see over here that we have more ways of looking at that. And again, testing for these different things to see exactly what's going on. And that's, again, that stool test looks at all these. This is all part of it. This is just the parasite section of it. So let's say we do have a parasite, okay? What are we going to do to start to get on top of this? Okay, that's the type of question. Again, really part of it comes down to what exactly are we dealing with our current situation, what type of parasite and things like that. But there's a lot of different oils that are shown to help support the body and kind of have some anti-parasitic type properties. things like oregano, thyme, fennel, Roman chamomile, tea tree, clove, and even digestion, because digestion has some of those things in there, right? So like fennel and different things like that. So again, lots of good oils. I'm not saying use all of them, right? But those are just some different types that we can start to utilize when we have the right information and things like that. And again, if we have something like a liver fluke, maybe we're putting these on like a castor oil pack or something like that. Again, diluting them down, putting them over the liver. If it's more GI, we're doing it over that GI, right? So just depends exactly what's going on, but there are a lot of different plants and a lot of different oils and herbs that have some anti-parasitic properties, okay? GX Assist, this is why, like earlier this year, right, we got, a lot of us did, again, if you've been with doTERRA in this group for some time, every year we kind of do a cleanse, right? Now they've changed it to 90 days, which I love. It used to be 30 days. Oh, maybe they listen to a couple of my talks. We'll see. But when we do that, that's part of the reason why, right? A gut cleansing formula. It's helping cleanse some of those things out. And if there are some different types of parasites, bad bacteria, things like that, again, there's some anti-parasitic properties that help support the GI, help support the body, the immune system to help rid of some of those. Digestion is going to do the same thing, but also a big part of it is helping, right, with some of the peppermint and some of the ginger, some of those different things, that can really help with the upset stomach part of that. Again, so we're supporting that system because they are causing some upset. Now the
Dr.
big,
Shane, excuse me, I've had a couple people saying your image is in the lower left-hand corner on the bottom, but it at times it's covering your PowerPoint.
like my head is,
Yes, yes, it's
okay.
covering some of that. So I don't know if there's something you can do with that. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see a second. I can either take myself off or I can try to scooch to the corner a little bit more. Um, Most of the super important information is down here, but I can kind of come down here. Just let me know if I need to change that. Otherwise, I would have to kind of undo it and redo it quick, which isn't too big of a problem.
Thanks.
But yeah, but when we talk about parasites and things like that, I see a lot of people say like, okay, we do a 30-day kind of cleanse. We're going to approach this for a month or so. I have found that that is not enough time. Okay. I really say 90 days, 3 months minimum, probably closer to 4 months with that. And the reason I say that is there's adults, there's kind of like the adolescents and teenagers, and then there's the eggs. And just think about each month, the one kind of transfers to the next. Okay. So really month one, you're probably killing a lot of the adults and some of the adolescents and maybe some of the eggs. And then they all that during that month, they all kind of grow up. Some of the adolescents turn to adults, eggs come into adolescence, and now we're kind of doing that cycle. So I typically find just a 30-day 1 month isn't enough to really get all of it. But that's why I say 3 months, even as they're kind of growing and things like that, you're really getting the vast majority of them. You're killing some eggs, so now there's not as many that are moving down that line, and then you're also kind of ridding of those as we move along. So again, 90 kind of plus days when it comes to really getting on top of if the parasites are bad, right? If we do have a big kind of parasitic infection and things like that, to do that. So that is what I typically see works the best. Now it just depends. Like I've had patients go on literally trips out of the country, be exposed to parasites, gave them some suggestions to bring some of these different things. But that's a quick instance, right? They get a couple parasites in their system. I tell them, well, I'll just take this for the rest of the trip. They clear it out, and now it's never gotten to the point where they're laying eggs and different things like that, right? So there are acute situations that can be different, but if it's longer standing and they're kind of established, that's when we're looking at a little bit longer of that protocol. Um, so yeah, but just let me know if I see a couple people are saying that they can't hear. Can you hear me okay, Sandy?
Yeah, I told him to go back in and come out or adjust their volume. You sound absolutely great, and I only have you half turned halfway up. You're doing
Okay.
outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. I just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. In some of these too, that's why there's several that have some anti-parasitic properties. Some lean more towards being able to kill off some of the eggs. Some lean more towards being able to kill off some of the adults and adolescents, right? So that's where, again, getting some of that information and making a plan with somebody is helpful with utilizing these. Again, part of it is having trouble sleeping, right? So even while we're dealing with these, as we're trying to struggle with some of this, the Serenity sleep system is one of my favorite. It's something I don't go without. I diffuse it every night in my diffuser. I'm taking some of the Serenity soft gels. Absolutely love the Serenity Valerian stick. I rub that on the bottom of my feet. I rub it on the bottom of my son's feet. He thinks it tickles and it's hilarious, but he loves it. It definitely helps him. I can tell the nights that we forget, or if we're going somewhere and we forget the stick, it's not often, but I can definitely tell some of those nights where he might be a little more restless or things like that. And it definitely helps right now. We're going through a teething time, so we're a little bit restless because of that. But doing the Serenity, diffusing it, also doing that on the bottom of his feet definitely helps calm some of that down. We're also using some clove and stuff like that on the gums to help with some of that pain. But the Serenity sleep system can definitely help with that sleep, with the anxiety, that restlessness, and things like that. Again, the key point is to make sure that you are getting rid of the parasites and taking care of those, but this can help in that meantime during that process. What I often find too is that um, parasites can come with co-infections or vice versa, okay? And I think the next slide we'll dive into a little bit more, but there's a theory behind this, and this goes back to everybody has parasites. And I think that statement is partly true. I believe that everybody is exposed to parasites, but if if your body is really strong, if your gut is really strong, if you have a good, strong microbiome, your immune system is strong, even if we're exposed to some of these parasites in those little amounts, our body is able to take care of them kind of by itself. All right. So it's really comes down to how strong and healthy of an individual are you compared to somebody who maybe isn't, right? If we have a poor diet, if we're not taking regular supplements, we're not taking care of ourselves, our body isn't as strong. And now when we are exposed to some of those parasites, now they have the ability to latch on, hold on, and start to grow and divide and things like that versus our body saying, nope, we can handle this and take care of them before we even maybe notice that they're even an issue or even there. But some of the things that I do see is, again, those parasites can really throw off if they do take hold, they can throw off the imbalance in our gut of the microbiome, a lot of the rest of our body, and then that can lead to co-infection, thing like candida, like we can see down here, other types of bacterial infections, just because that environment isn't a good place anymore because the parasites threw it off. Now it can start to bring in other friends, right? And now we're just perpetuating that problem. What I see often too is I see bad parasitic infections correlate a lot with mold toxicity. And that typically goes, if we're dealing with mold, our immune system's weakened, our body is weakened, it's usually affecting our digestive tract, it's usually affecting our microbiome, and now we're susceptible to those parasites taking hold and taking over. And I see that quite common. It's not everybody, but I oftentimes see when we do have something like mold, along with it may come parasites, okay? So again, looking at these different things to get a complete picture, because even if this person has mold, they also have parasites. If we only address the parasite portion of that, we're not fully going to get the results that we're looking for. So again, getting that complete picture with some of these people. And here's what I'm talking about as far as the environment is key. Okay. The environment of your gut, the environment of your body, how clean and how strong is it, right? So there's things like the germ theory, but versus the terrain theory, right? If a fish is in a dirty bowl, right, what do we need to do? We need to clean up the environment, right? not necessarily give the fish a medication or something like that, right? But when we look at that, it's how do we keep our environment of our gut? How do we keep the environment of our body as strong, as healthy, and as clean as possible? Because whether it's a parasite or a bad bacteria or anything else that we come about, our body is in the best position to take care of that and not even become a problem. Okay. Again, that could be a cold, a flu, a virus, whatever that may be. But again, I think we're exposed to these parasites on a pretty regular basis through our food and through different things. I mean, literally, you can go ground outside, which I highly recommend, but you have a weak immune system. Now there is a chance for you to start to catch some different things that you may be exposed to. But again, you have a really good, healthy, strong body. You can fight those things before they ever come a problem, right? It's like you have a castle, your gate is up, the moat is strong, all the guards are there, nobody's getting in, right? That's what you want. You don't want the gate wide open. You don't want the guards taking a nap, and now anybody can walk through the front door, right? That's what we're kind of talking about. So that environment is key. And that's again where I think GI mapping is good, but the part that a GI map misses is the part down here at the bottom left. And that is, what does the terrain of the gut look like? Okay, are we digesting and absorbing everything correctly? Again, what other metabolites are we looking at? Is there inflammation and immune markers going on? What does our good healthy microbiome look like, right? Are we taking a good probiotic? Is the probiotic working? Is the probiotic sticking? Or are we still super deficient even though we take our probiotic every day, right? So this can start to tell us these different issues and how to start to tweak some of these things per the individual. So you got to know this information, okay? And then when we look at this, right, part of what can really help too is if we're dealing with something like a parasite, we need to be able to get rid, right? Rivitazine is the detoxifying blend. So if we're trying to detox the gut, detox these parasites out, rivitazine is one of those things that we really need. And this is one of those new ones, and they also have the capsule version of it as well. But highly recommend that one of the really good new products that came last year. And then again, right? So the different the capsules that come with it. So again, the advanced organ detoxifying complex. Love milk thistle, really good for the liver, protective of the liver as well. Again, if we have something like a liver fluke, it's in there. Milk thistle is going to help protect it from being further damaged, but the liver processes tons of toxins, all these different things. So something that's really, really helpful, and again, protects that liver from some of those different damages. Artichoke is great for our gallbladder, a number of different things, right? So just a great formula overall to support the gut, support our detox pathways, our liver, especially through these different processes. Okay. And then how do we start to rebuild this environment? Okay. We do have these parasites. We've supported the body. We flushed them out of our system. What are some good things we can start to rebuild? Again, part of it is knowing where our gut currently stands, but simple things like Terrazyme, right? Going to help us digest our food, making sure we're getting all the vitamins, minerals, nutrients out of our food and even our supplements. So just a digestive enzyme that's going to help us break those things down. Apple cider vinegar, raw organic apple cider vinegar, doesn't taste the best, but super good for our stomach acid levels, super good for digestion, works hand in hand with the Terrazyme. This is the digestive enzymes we need. This is going to help with the stomach acid that we need, okay? I see one of the main side effects I do see with parasites is usually like acid reflux and things like that. The apple cider vinegar is great at helping with that. And then when we look at inflammation, there's things like turmeric, there's things like copaiba, deep blue polyphenol. Again, these parasites can cause a lot of inflammation, cause a lot of disruption. So how do we start to settle those things down? Here's a few different versions for you. Again, they're all great. So one's not necessarily better than the other, but these can definitely help. So if you have one on hand, great. Let's start to use it. If you don't, right, we can easily get one. when we talk about the microbiome, right? Part of it, and I'll talk about that in a second, is taking the probiotics, but there's things like prebiotics as well. Okay, so how do you start to feed the gut these good things? Part of it is just fiber. Fiber is great. It grabs onto things, so it helps even with the detox. But fiber is kind of like the food for our good bacteria. I think about it like the fertilizer that you kind of put on the garden, put on your flowers and things like that. They eat up the fiber and as food. Sauerkraut is like nature's probiotic with a prebiotic. Okay, not as strong as taking a supplement version of it, but a spoonful or two of this a day is amazing to help just keep that gut in a good, healthy state, gives you great fiber and different things like that. Okay. Again, part of rebuilding that environment, part of it is going to be those probiotics. Again, I showed you a picture from that stool sample where the person's microbiome was really deficient. That's where things like the PB Restore and the PB Assist Plus come in hand. Now, one thing that I talk to a lot of patients about, they're like, well, can I take just one and not the other? Really, the best is to take both. Each one has different beneficial bacteria in them. Okay, so PB Restore is going to have certain bacteria in them that are good for you. The PB Assist actually has different ones. So if you're only taking one, you're only getting some of the good bacteria you need. So really the best is to get both. Okay, so you're getting that as many of those diverse good bacteria that you need. But I say this is kind of like planting your garden, right? These are all the good things that you're trying to plant. All the bad guys, all the parasites and all the candida and all those other things are like weeds, right? We're trying to get rid of the weeds, but we're trying to keep a good, healthy garden. Roman chamomile, I love for the gut. It stimulates the gut to produce more mucus. And this is one of the big issues I see, again, with parasites, but IBS, Crohn's, diverticulitis, any really gut issues, the gut starts to essentially dry out, okay? That mucus layer starts to get weaker. That's where your probiotics sit, okay? That's their home. You want a good, healthy mucus layer because that's the layer that the probiotics go into and live in. So if you're somebody that takes probiotics every single day and I miss one day and now I can't go to the bathroom, or you take probiotics every day and then we run a stool test and your microbiome is still deficient, it's probably because you don't have a good mucus layer. So those probiotics aren't actually implanting and sticking in the gut. Okay. Again, you're taking them, they're doing their job while they're in there, but they're just kind of flowing right out the other side. Okay. The goal is to get them to stick to plant in that. Roman chamomile is great at doing that. Our MetaPower Advantage, I love this for the gut. Great, it has lots of collagen. Collagen is our connective tissue, can start to heal leaky gut, help that gut lining, help repair it. So it's really good overall with that collagen and with that connective tissue part of it as how it supports that gut in there. And then one of the biggest things is our diet, okay? Eating real food, right? And I know this is definitely harder in today's world. We're exposed to a lot of stuff that isn't great for us. It's more difficult to eat healthy than it is to not, right? But especially when we're dealing with any digestive issue, really, if we keep pouring fuel onto the fire, it's really hard to put the fire out, okay? If we're eating good healthy food, good healthy salmon, strawberries, spinach, chicken, right? Avocados, we're eating this good healthy real food. We're not pouring fuel on the fire and it's helping us heal, rebuild, repair. And especially if we're dealing with something like a parasite where it's already stealing nutrients, we want the most nutrient dense food that we can so that we're getting the most out of it, right? McDonald's, love it or hate it, there's not that much nutrients in it. Okay. So what little bit is in there, the parasites are probably stealing, and then you're not getting really many nutrients at all, right? So eating good, healthy food so we can nourish our body is really important. So real whole food, eat your meat, right? Meat is going to be good. Lots of meat, liver, salmon. Salmon's going to be great for us. good healthy fats for us. Again, things like avocado, salmon has good healthy fats. Fats are really good to help heal our gut, heal our brain. So many things are we need fat for, healthy fats, okay? Lean proteins and collagen, like we talked about, tons of veggies and fruit. Again, lots of fiber in our veggies, some fiber in our fruit. We talked about how important fiber was. A lot of times when we're dealing with these issues, warmer drinks and warmer foods and drinks are going to be better. They're going to be calmer when they're warmed up. When they're cooked, they're already partially broken down, so our digestive tract doesn't have to do as much work. I often find with parasites, it's something I've noticed more and more. People struggle with cold and they struggle to drink plain cold water. It's interesting. I hear that more and more. So if you're somebody like, yeah, I just drink a bottle of water and it's cold and I just can't keep it down. But if I warm it up, we're good. If I throw some electrolytes and different things like that in there, we're good. But just plain water, I often see that being parasites of some sort. Okay, less sugar, less gluten, dairy, fast food are key. Gluten, dairy, people ask me about, they're highly processed foods and just they cause a lot of inflammation. Gluten is one of the most heavily sprayed with pesticides and herbicides as well. Dairy today is not the same dairy that we were drinking 20 years ago. I always say our milk used to curdle. Now it doesn't, right? So they've continued to do more things to it. So it's turning into this highly processed kind of food, and our body has a hard time with it. That's really why we have more lactose intolerance than ever before. Sugar weakens our immune system. Okay, I know we love it. We're all addicted to it. I'm not saying you can't ever have sugar again, but when we eat excessive amounts of sugar, that's going to weaken our immune system and make us more susceptible to these different types of infections like that. Okay. So again, as as we're kind of wrapping up, I just want to emphasize like making yourself as strong as possible is the best thing that you can do, because whether it is a parasite or it's something else, that's going to give your body the best chance to start to fight it. Okay. And again, I think we're all exposed to parasites from time to time, some probably more than others, just depending. But again, if our body is strong enough, it might get in. The body might say, nope, we're going to handle this, and it's out before you even know it was a thing. But again, our gut's not strong, our microbiome's off, our immune system's weakened, right? It's all these different things. That parasite gets in there. Now it can start to have it can start to implant and just start to have a heyday, and now you experience a lot of these different things, right? Some are just so vicious that you get it and you get diarrhea, right? We're seeing that on the news and things right now, but it could be a lot better, a lot tolerable, and it might be a lot shorter episode if you're healthier, right? A day or two and then you're done versus, okay, I'm sick for a whole week. All right. I experienced that a lot this year. There was a lot of sickness that was going around after Christmas, and I was exposed to some of these things, and there was definitely a couple days where I'm like, I feel a little off today. That was about it. It was like 24 hours, feel a little off, a little congested, move on. But some people were literally sick for like weeks and weeks on end, right? So you're just gonna be able to get through this process quicker, stronger, easier if you focus on you, okay? So I just want to thank you guys for, again, for taking time out of your night. Did I see there's like 100? Yeah, 164 people. That is amazing, right? So all 164 of you, again, thank you for taking time out of your night. I hope you learned something today. That was my goal, to say, hey, what might you have? If you do have questions, I'm definitely here to help. Here's a few ways that you can get a hold of me and my team. I'm more than happy to help in whatever way I can with this. If you do think so, if you had a lot of those signs or symptoms, or if you're just curious, more than happy to do that. We put a lot of information on our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, different things like that to help provide you. I just want to help educate you guys and give you tools that you can start to bring home. Okay. And for joining tonight, I showed you that stool test several times. So for joining tonight too, what I wanted to offer you guys is if you are interested, you can get that stool test and a consultation to go through it. So that whole stool test that you saw, we're going to get that. Plus, once we get those results back, I will sit down with you. We'll go through the results and say, here's what we're finding. Is there a parasite? Is there not a parasite? Is there something else going on, right? How do we need to rebuild the gut, right? So we're going to look at all those things and we're going to formulate a plan specific for you, okay? Not everybody's the same, right? So not everybody needs to take the same exact things. There's definitely some supplements. There's definitely some different things that are important and are kind of general. But again, when it comes to an individual and we're dealing with some of these big issues, that's where the testing really comes in hand. So we're not guessing at what's kind of going on, right? We know exactly what's going on and we know exactly how to approach it. That gets us from point A to point B the quickest. So everything you really need for that first step. Typically, this is usually runs a little over $900, but tonight we're running that deal again. That stool test read consult, everything you need for that first step is going to be $769. If you are interested in that, you can call my office, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to us and say, hey, I was on the call tonight, would love to take that deal. Okay, so just wanted to extend that offer over to you guys. But all right.
Dr. Shane, while I wrap up, you could look at, there's quite a few questions in there.